Picture this. You're at a dinner party, you're holding a glass of wine, and someone said a comment that triggers you. And you feel a very familiar wave of emotion that it's your chest feels a little bit pressure or your heart starts racing, and your first thought is, oh, I need another drink if I want to get through tonight. What if I told you that understanding emotions like waves can completely change your perception and how you respond to these emotions? So today we're diving deeper into the thoughts of emotions are like waves and the fascinating neuroscience behind this and the difference between emotions and feelings. Having this knowledge can transform how your relationship with choices is, and especially the relationship that you have with drinking. Let's start with emotions are like waves. Just as the ocean that has its waves, that it has deep currents that creates the waves and reaches a peak and then naturally subsides, emotions have a similar pattern. They come from unconscious processes, they reach a peak of intensity, and then they gradually fade. So this isn't just like poetic language, this is neuroscience. So there's a research done by Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, where she shows that the psychological experience of emotion can last around 90 seconds. And think about like anger or anxiety or sadness. It is designed to move through you, not stay with you. And it's something so interesting that you can actually see the waves of emotion in your brain when you're being scanned. So neuroscientists can measure the patterns of the brain waves. And when you're in a calm state, you have an alpha wave. But you go into a beta wave if you're stressed or anxious, and that's the electrical pattern that literally comes in waves through the nervous system. Here is where this gets fascinating. So what most people call emotions are actually two completely different processes. So emotions happen first, and it's the immediate, automatic, neurological generated reaction to whatever is triggering us. So usually it goes through the amygdala and the limbic system, and when we encounter a trigger, our brain fires up in milliseconds a bunch of neurotransmitters. So these neurotransmitters, like norepinephrine, flood our system, creating an altered state of mind or an arousal. And then the dopamine activates, the serotonin activates, and then the GABA works eventually to calm the states down. So your body responds instantly to emotions, and your heart rate changes, your muscles tense up, you start releasing all these hormones, and it's pure biology. You get into the fight or flight or freeze state. But then it happens something else. So the neurocortex kicks in, and that's when feelings are born. So the neurocortex starts to tie up this emotion to memories. And it is the subjective interpretation of what is happening and what triggered you. So it comes with beliefs and cultural background and personal history, and that is what we call feelings. So a clear example would be two people have the same emotional trigger. So let's say someone criticized their work and they have complete different feelings about it. So a first person could be like, oh, I'm not good enough, it's not working, I am not working, while the second person can say, oh, that person is having a difficult day, or yeah, I could have done better, but okay, what can I do about it? So from a psychological perspective, emotional waves are incredibly revealing. So it is our getaways of understanding the deeper patterns of what's going on in our heads. So the feeling of anger or the feeling of sadness, it's often carrying something deeper into the unconscious and the psyche. So understanding emotions as energy that flows freely through you sometimes can be blocked or trapped or creating psychological tension, and that is what we try to understand on therapy and on one-to-one conversations. And we got to understand something. Emotions can also be part of my reaction of the reading of the room. So it's all about perspective, it's all about relationships and how we view them. So this brings us to a very powerful concept that it's called the second arrow. So the first arrow you cannot avoid. It's the emotional wave, right? It just hits you. It's inevitable. But the resistance to that emotion, or the stories that we tell about that emotion, or the attempts to avoid it, that's the second arrow. And that is optional. And that's how we understand the feeling. So here it's how it applies to drinking. So let's say you're at a dinner party and you're feeling socially anxious and you are hit by the emotional wave. So the first arrow, your heart is pounding and you feel tensed up, you feel your muscles tense, you get this fight, flight, or freeze mechanism immediately triggered on you. So it's the thought of, oh, I feel vulnerable here. But then your mind recreates the story in other moments that you felt that exact emotion, and you start saying to yourself, oh, I'm awkward, I don't belong here, people are judging me, I don't need this, and I need alcohol to feel normal. That is the second arrow. So what if we shift this situation, that instead of automatically reaching for another drink, we have a cold pause and recognize, like, this is an anxiety wave, this is an emotion to my reading of the room, and that I'm viewing through the lenses of memory. So what if it's temporary? What is the information that I have on my hands right now, and what do I actually need, instead of having that unconscious reaction of, yeah, I'm gonna drink again. And maybe what you need is connection. Maybe what you need is a genuine conversation. Maybe what you need is not feeling numb. So you need to set boundaries to yourself, to step outside, get some air, and get away from the overwhelming environment and have self-compassion. Remind yourself that this is an emotion, that it will pass, that you're not vulnerable, that you're human, that this is not shameful. When you understand emotions as waves, you understand them as, hey, I'm not going to be swept away by this. I can learn how to surf them instead of tremble by the thought or not get in the water. So how do I practice this? This is a big question, right? So when you feel an emotional wave, you can try this. First, oh, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling lonely, or whatever you're feeling at the moment, right? Second, understand what's going on in your body. Like, how do I feel physically? Like, how do I experience this emotion? Is it in my chest? Is it in my stomach? Is it in my shoulders and my back? Third, breathe. Remember to breathe, because that's how we deactivate the fight, freeze, flight response. And fourth, you need to ask yourself, what do I need? Do I need connection? Do I need a reset? Do I need to set some boundaries? And understanding this can lead us to understand that what you actually need is so much simpler than numbing yourself or grabbing another drink. So this is the foundation of conscious moderation. It's learning how to work with your emotional state, and instead of just going against the waves, because the ocean is big and you need to flow with it. You cannot go against it. So, to understand the difference between the automatic emotion reaction and the interpretation of the feeling through the memories, and actually understanding them as waves that come and go, and that you're seeing them as a lens of perception, and maybe understanding and gathering yourself of what's going on can make you feel and reclaim that power to choose consciously. So, emotions really are like waves, but feelings are your responses, and they can become conscious. It's the story that you decide to tell yourself. And remember, every emotion is temporary, every feeling is an interpretation, and every moment can be a conscious choice. So, cravings might still come, wanting that glass of wine might still come, but understanding that you can serve through the emotions and can learn from them can help you make better choices. So, what would change within you if your emotions, instead of being swept away by them or like swallowed by the emotion and the ocean, what would shift with your ability to handle and to serve those waves?